Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Cardano and its native token ADA. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also stake your ADA with the ITC2 stake pool. You will find information on how to do so in the description below. Let's go ahead and jump in. So ADA is now trading for approximately $2. And if you remember, a few months ago, we said, look, we're probably going to pump into the release of smart contracts. We're going to see a lull following it, and a long accumulation phase again, right? A cool down phase followed by going back into the phase of why doesn't ADA ever do anything? This is somewhat normal. We've seen this happen many times. Now, if you're curious about what's going on with Cardano, I think a lot of developers are waiting for the Plutus backend to be deployed so that they can actually start, building out the dApps and whatnot that are going to be launching on Cardano and hopefully create a thriving ecosystem in Cardano. Until then, we're still sort of in a waiting game there. Now, if you look at the actual price, it seems like we're getting squeezed between the 20-week SMA and the 21-week EMA, so the bull market support band, and then the 50-day moving average. So the price is getting squeezed between the bull market support band and the 50-day. I think it's interesting because at some point, you have to imagine it's going to have to break out one way or another. Hopefully, it breaks out to the upside if Bitcoin stays relatively bullish, right? This would be the ideal case. Even if we do not hold the bull market support band, I still think it's fine. I just think we would be in long reaccumulation, and hopefully we'd still break out to the upside. Now, what's interesting is if you go look at the daily RSI for Cardano, it is actually getting pretty low. Okay, I mean, it has been low for quite a while here, but if we change this into a color you can see a little bit easier, you can see the daily RSI right now is all the way down at around 40. If we were below 30, we would be technically oversold according to the relative strength index. Right now, you can see that Cardano, it's coming in pretty low here on the relative strength index on the daily time frame. If you look at it on the weekly time frame, it's not as low, but we are getting close to the area in the past where we ultimately found support. We found support in September of 2020 at this level, and then in July of 2021. So if we were to come down a little bit more, then perhaps that could be the area that ADA would hope to hold the line. Maybe it would correspond to it coming down to the 50-week moving average or something. That would be a pretty big drop. We also know the 50-week moving average is increasing every single week. So if we were to go down to that level, then that could correspond to a bounce as well. Now, when we talk about Cardano, I put out my predictions for Cardano and whatnot, and I know a lot of people right now are somewhat unhappy that it's not moving. You have to remember, as always, that it is up a very modest 100x, okay? If you take a price move here from the bottom to the current prices, it's literally up 11,000%. We're looking at it going from around 16, or a penny and a half or so, all the way to approximately $2. I mean, we obviously know we went to $3, but it's a pretty big gain by ADA, all right? So I think it makes sense to consolidate for a while and wait until the ecosystem is actually being utilized. Until then, until that actually happens, I would speculate we're more or less going to be in some consolidation phase. Okay, could we get a breakout, back to 250 or 225? Sure, I think that's could always happen. But I'm not speculating dubiously myself on a new all-time high, at least for another month or so. At least for another month. And it could be longer than that. All right, so that's what I'm looking at with Cardano. We are at least getting closer to that, that phase where I think we could begin another ascent. But until then, we just have a bit more consolidation to do, and hopefully the cycle keeps going on long enough for the Cardano, for the Plutus backend to actually be delivered. So if you go look at the ADA Bitcoin valuation, it has come down significantly. Note that this is the prior area where we did see a bounce in the past. Okay. So if Bitcoin doesn't make a parabolic move here or doesn't dump, then we could see altcoins rally again. All right, and if that were the case, then we could of course see this bounce back up. Note though that going into November, there is a decent chance that Bitcoin volatility remains somewhat high, and therefore could make it difficult for alts to rally against Bitcoin. So don't be surprised if the ADA valuation against Bitcoin does bleed down even further. I think the most likely scenario that would cause that is if Bitcoin just starts making another major move back up to the upside, okay? If it goes back to 65K, 70K, if it goes up to say like 75K or something, there's a good chance that the ADA valuation against Bitcoin would bleed in the short term, all right? So you have to keep that in mind. The Consolidation price, of course, is if Bitcoin's going up, at least ADA USD should be doing somewhat okay. right? It should be doing somewhat okay in that scenario. So far, ADA has actually been doing a pretty good job of holding the bull market support band. Okay, you can see we've had, this is our 6th week now, more or less testing it. And now, if you're curious, the 20-week SMA is at 196 and the 21-week EMA is at 198. So that would be ideally the space where we could hold the line here and at least get a bit of breathing room off the bull market support band. Because ideally we would hold the bull market support band and not go below it. Going below it would be somewhat unfortunate because then we'd have to at some point work up the momentum to get back above it, hold it as support and whatnot, and obviously that can take a while. So ideally speaking, we just hold the bull market support band here and maybe we get like a nice little bounce and then we can just continue along our way. That's what we're hoping for. If you go look at the ADA Ether valuation, it actually has come back down below the prior local tops that we saw in prior years. We are also currently at a valuation that we were very close to bottomed at back in August of 2021 and May of 2021. We went even lower than that. So I'd say this is probably an interesting area to watch. The current valuation against Ethereum, and then maybe even it could go all the way down another 20% against ETH and still sort of be at a range where we've seen bounces off of this market cycle. So, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot to report on Cardano at the current time, but I do know a lot of people would like updates and whatnot. And honestly, I think it's more or less the same, right? Cardano is more or less in the same position it was a few weeks ago and a few weeks before that. As I've said, I think that we're more or less in a consolidation phase right now, and we probably need at least a few more weeks before we can muster up the momentum to put in a new all-time high. That is what I speculate. That's what I'm speculating on Cardano. We could certainly see a bounce here at the bull market support band, but I would not anticipate any new all-time highs until probably mid to late November at the very earliest. Okay, so I'd say mid to late November at the earliest. And again, it could be later than that. As I've said before, I think it could even go out as far as late March before we see a new all-time high. And of course, all of that assumes that Bitcoin stays relatively healthy. And the ideal scenario for Cardano is Bitcoin stays healthy and we get the Plutus backend deployed, and then we see developers start launching their own dApps and everything in the Cardano ecosystem, and then people start using it, and then hopefully we can see the Cardano's native token ADA appreciate at that time. Until then, as I've said, I think we are in consolidation mode. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and remember to stake your ADA with the ITC2 stake pool. Also check out the premium list at intothecryptoverse.com. Thank you guys for tuning in. Subscribe, click the bell icon to turn on notifications, and I will see you next time.